Picture this, a crisp morning breeze, the soft clang of a service bell, and the sweet aroma of gasoline mingling with fresh-cut grass as you pull into a shiny, whitewashed station. Do you recall the friendly wave from an attendant in a crisp uniform, ready to fill your tank, clean your windshield, and check your oil while you sat behind the wheel? In the 1950s, the gas station was more than just a place to fuel up. It was a social hub, a roadside sanctuary that promised clean restrooms, cold sodas, and a genuine smile. Back then, you might hear the squeak of a squeegee or the hum of a Coca-Cola cooler as you stepped inside to grab a treat. The neon lights would flicker on as dusk fell, casting a warm glow over the glass pumps and gleaming chrome. Do you ever think about how those simple stops quietly shaped our family road trips and summer memories? Before self-service and plastic cards, there was a world where hospitality and pride were pumped with every gallon. Let's pull back into that era and rediscover what made the 50s gas station an unforgettable American icon. Step back to the dawn of the 1950s, when America's highways sprawled wide and shining with possibility, and gas stations stood like beacons of optimism along every town's main drag and at the crossroads of busy highways. The country was in motion. Soldiers had come home from World War II to booming suburbs, automakers were churning out sleek Chevys and Fords, and the newly minted American dream was bubbling with freedom, mobility, and the open road. But what many forget is just how crucial the humble gas station was to all this, how it evolved alongside America herself, and how stepping onto those gleaming driveways felt like entering a world where anything was possible. The story actually begins earlier, in the 1920s and 30s, when filling stations were often nothing more than shacks with a tank, a simple hand-cranked pump, and maybe a tin sign hanging out front. By the 1950s, though, the gas station had undergone a transformation so dramatic it nearly defined the modern American road trip. They were no longer crude structures, they were architectural statements, with gleaming porcelain tile facades, Art Deco lines and streamlined curves designed to attract customers cruising by at ever-increasing speeds. If you close your eyes, you might just picture a Texaco station's bright green and white roof, or the round porthole windows of old Phillips 66, both serving as landmarks in their own right. What really drove this change? Well, after W2, there was an explosion in car ownership. Over 40 million automobiles were on US roads by 1950, almost twice as many as at the start of the decade. The country's focus on progress, powered by an expanding middle class, meant that travel was not just for the upper crust. Suddenly, every family could dream of piling into a station wagon and pointing west on Route 66 or toward the dazzling lights of Atlantic City or Miami Beach. Gas stations were ready to meet the moment, offering more services, cleaner facilities, and the kind of cheerful welcome that would breed real customer loyalty. Here's a detail you might find surprising. Even the earliest oil companies like Standard Oil and Gulf didn't just sell gas, they were in the business of selling peace of mind. Their advertisements promised friendly service and spotless restrooms as proof of reliability, not just fuel. Competition was fierce, leading to a flurry of giveaways, from S&H green stamps and glassware to branded road maps that made travelers feel like explorers. Did your parents ever hand you a colorful map from the glove compartment, letting you trace your finger along the route while the sun danced over the dashboard? These maps were given out for free at almost every station, a practice so common that by the late 50s, oil companies were printing and giving away tens of millions each year. Let's turn, for a moment, to the service bell itself. A detail that seems small now, but back then, announced your arrival with dignity. It was a thin rubber hose stretched across the entrance, and when your tires rolled over, it delivered a sharp ding inside the office. Almost instantly, a uniformed attendant would step out, sometimes 2 or 3 if your car was shiny or you rolled up in a convertible. Full service wasn't just a slogan. The attendant would tip his cap, ask about your trip, and get to work with the practiced efficiency of a pit crew. Gas pumped, oil checked, tires topped off, windows washed till they sparkled. And here's a fun fact. Often, those attendants had to memorize the correct tire pressures and oil types for the most common cars, since every year the automakers churned out a dizzying array of models. Have you ever wondered how they kept it all straight? Especially on a hot July afternoon with a line of cars waiting in the sun. All this transformation didn't happen by accident. The government was laying the groundwork too. The Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, now legendary, set in motion the construction of America's vast interstate highway system. The vision was a coast-to-coast network of smooth, multi-lane expressways, safe and efficient for travel and commerce. This revolutionized not only where people could go, but how far they could go in a day. Suddenly, small towns on the edge of nowhere saw streams of travelers at their corner stations, fueling up, grabbing a snack, or just stretching their legs. Business was booming, and stations multiplied. By the late 1950s, there were well over 200,000 gas stations dotting the American landscape. Back in those days, the look of a station mattered as much as its location. Oil companies knew the power of brand loyalty and visual identity, prompting designs that were instantly recognizable even from a half-mile down the road. Shell's golden scalloped sign, Esso's bold blue oval, the familiar red Pegasus of Mobil. These were more than logos, they were promises. Some families made a point of sticking to one brand, believing it brought better mileage or cleaner engines, and wouldn't you know, that sense of trust often lasted for generations. Do you remember a favorite station you always stopped at as a child? Maybe you recall the thrill of seeing that familiar sign after hours on the road. Relief and excitement all in one. But not all stations were temples of modern convenience, and not all memories are of gleaming tile. In many rural communities, the gas station was joined to the general store or mechanic's shop, acting as a local hub for news, gossip, and help with any kind of trouble, fender benders, a flat tire, or a run-in with a curious raccoon. You might not believe this, but in some towns the phone book listed the local filling station as the place to call. Not the sheriff, in case of emergencies. It was personal, neighborly, and indispensable, a far cry from the automated pumps we know today. And the pumps themselves? The 1950s marked the end of the glorious era of clear glass, visible gas pumps with their glowing red spinners swirling gasoline for all to see. Proof to wary customers that the fuel was fresh and unadulterated. By the middle of the decade, more modern clock-face meters with spinning dials and artful chrome began to take over, tracking every penny as prices hovered below 30 cents a gallon. Imagine standing there, watching the meter spin and thinking about how far your dollar would take you. Did you know that during these years, gas station owners themselves would paint and polish the pumps on weekends to outshine the competition? As the country changed, so did attitudes. The trust and friendliness that characterized gas stations in the era became one of their most remembered features. People reminisced about the free air and water, the kind word or bit of advice from the attendant, and the way a quick stop could leave you with a smile. There's a simple truth there. These places were woven into everyday life, marking rites of passage like a first ride behind the wheel, family vacations, or a long drive home after school dances. But that's not all, because behind those tidy service bays and sparkling pumps, innovation and competition were heating up, fueling a wave of creative ideas that would soon touch every corner of American life. What happened next in the world of 50s gas stations would surprise even the most seasoned road warrior. As we slow down and pull off the highway of memory, let's take a moment to appreciate just how much the 50s gas station was more than a mere pit stop. It was a tradition woven right into the fabric of small-town America and the dreams of a country always on the move. Throughout this journey, we've wandered from the dawn of the roadside filling station to the heyday of full-service care, recalling how each tidy lot and neon sign came to symbolize reliability, hospitality, and the irresistible promise of the open road. We remembered those whitewashed porcelain exteriors gleaming in the afternoon sun, the clatter of the service bell, and the ever-present attendant, uniform pressed, smile ready, who handled every fill-up with a kind word and a practiced hand. We've seen how these stations transform travel for the everyday family, offering not just gasoline, but comfort, a place to stretch your legs, grab a cool glass bottle of soda, and maybe hear a local tale or two exchanged among passengers and townsfolk alike. From bright maps laid out on the dashboard to the thrill of trading stamps or receiving a free glass with every gallon, these stations captured the excitement of the post-war boom and the nation's boundless spirit of adventure. But even more than the architecture or amenities, it was the feeling that lingered after every visit, the sense that no matter how far from home you were, you could always count on a clean restroom, a fresh wipe of the windshield, and a familiar smile. Beneath the blinking signs and rows of shining pumps was the reassurance of human connection, neighbors helping neighbors, strangers treated like friends. That spirit is harder to find now in our world of pay at the pump and quick, impersonal transactions, yet the memory still stirs something inside us every time we see an old station on a quiet stretch of back road, overgrown with weeds but echoing with stories. Looking back, aren't we reminded of just how ordinary moments, like pulling in for a tank of gas, could become cherished family memories? Perhaps the real legacy of the 1950s service station isn't in the architecture or the brands, but in the everyday hospitality that turned quick stops into small adventures, and the way even a mundane errand could offer a dose of neighborly warmth. As we race through busy modern lives, what piece of that slower, friendlier world do you find yourself wishing you could revisit? When's the last time a simple trip to fill up your tank brought a smile or sparked a conversation? We'd love to hear your memories. Was there a station you stopped at every summer road trip? Do you remember waiting in the car as your parents chatted with the attendant, or collecting those brightly colored maps that promised new adventures? Share your favorite stories in the comments below. It's those little recollections that build the road back to our shared past. And if this trip down memory lane set your heart to humming like an old engine on a smooth stretch of highway, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more journeys into the golden years, and share it with friends who might be yearning for the comforting glow of a neon sign against the evening sky. After all, some of the best journeys are the ones that lead us home, not just to a place, but to a feeling. And sometimes all it takes is a simple clang of the service bell and the scent of gasoline on the breeze to carry us there, one memory at a time.